What's going on, guys? It's Cal here from Buffalo SportsCenter, and today we will be discussing the Buffalo Sabres goaltending situation and a potential option to save the team, goaltender Connor Hellebuyck from the Winnipeg Jets. Let's get into it. So first things first, everyone's talking about Connor Hellebuyck to the Sabres. Whether you go on Twitter, Instagram, even the local news, everyone's picked up on this story. A lot of people are loving the idea, but there are some people who kind of hate the idea too. So let's get into details here with Connor Hellebuyck. He's been in Winnipeg for a long time. Last season, he posted a 37-25-2 record. That's pretty darn good. Obviously, Winnipeg, a little bit of a better team than the Buffalo Sabres, although watching the playoffs now is really frustrating because if the Sabres had made the playoffs, I think they would have been doing pretty well and could possibly still be in it at the time of this recording. With that being said, though, back to Hellebuyck. He posted a .920 save percentage, which was pretty darn good for playing that many games, and allowed 2.49 goals on average, which is a pretty low number for the league. So overall, just stats-wise, he looks like a great option for the Sabres, especially if they could get him on a one-year rental. It wouldn't be a super cheap deal. With that being said, the Sabres are still pretty much near the cap floor with a ton of money to spend. I know they still have to sign Dahlin long-term. I know they got some young kids coming up, but they're still going to have excess money. So I think this would be a good move. But let's look at the Sabres' other goaltenders really quick and, kind of dissect why this would be such a good move. Let's start off with Craig Anderson. Craig Anderson, he's going to retire, right? I mean, it's pretty much official. It might not be completely official. I know some fans are still delusional. They still think all of a sudden we're going to call Craig Anderson, say one more season, just be our backup and, get to experience playoff hockey. It's not going to happen. He had that miracle fairy tale last game, that OT win. He had the whole family on the ice, everyone standing ovation, final game of the season. If the Sabres weren't going to make the playoffs last season, that was a great way to end the season, and I think I think that was a great parting game for Craig Anderson, especially against his old team in Ottawa. Now let's look at UPL. A lot of fans love UPL, and a lot of fans hate UPL. It's kind of one way or the other with him. He posted a 17-11-4 record last season, which honestly, that's better than I expected. Coming into this video, I thought I was going to kind of trash on UPL a little more. Looking at that record, though, it's pretty good. Now, granted, the Sabres did score about 5 or 6 goals in every single game UPL started, and he still, gave up a lot of goals and ended up losing 11 games in regulation. With that being said, though, an .892 save percentage isn't horrible, isn't great, definitely not starter material. And here's the kicker, a .361 goals allowed on average. So he was allowing almost 4 goals a game, which cannot happen in the NHL, especially with the Sabres, who, the defensive situation, it's got to get better. Hopefully we draft defense in the draft, and hopefully we get, some free agents or some trades, because Jacob Bryson, Henry Jokiharju, even Lyubushkin at times were liabilities last season. So, it's not all on the goaltender, but again, a 3.61 goals on average is unacceptable in the National Hockey League. I was calling for UPL, maybe to go back down to the AHL for next season, maybe get some more tuning. He's very good in close, but you watch UPL play the game of hockey, you could just tell his tracking needs a lot of work. And as Marty Baron says time and time again on the broadcast, that's one of the toughest traits to learn. And if you don't know how to track the puck from long distances, by the time you get to the NHL, it's really not looking good for you. But we can all hold out hope. Obviously, the fans love UPL, the Luke chants after every big save. And to be honest, he had a lot of great wins last season, too. A lot of games he saved the Sabres in, but again, gave up way too many goals, and I just don't think he's the answer long term. Then let's go to Eric Comrie. What a disappointment Eric Comrie was. He was supposed to be our starter last season. He was supposed to be the guy who gave, Levi and UPL enough time to kind of take over. He did quite the opposite. I know he was dealing with some injuries here or there, but a 9-9-1 record isn't horrible. An .886 save percentage. Worst on the team by far. Absolutely horrible. I know he had that game against Dallas where he let in 10 goals, so that probably inflated his stats a little bit. Those are just unacceptable numbers, though. 3.67 goals against, again, same thing as UPL. You cannot be letting that many goals in on a game-to-game basis. Now, I get it, again, the Sabres defense was not all that great last season. And when they were great, it was mostly on the offensive side with Dahlin and Power really, having breakout seasons. But those stats just aren't good enough. So I think if we're being honest, I think Eric Comrie has to go, or send him to UP or send him to Rochester, because it's just not going to work out, especially for a Buffalo Sabres team that almost expects to make the playoffs next season. Now let's get into the final goaltender on the NHL roster, Devon Levi. Devon Levi, I think he's the future, right? Like he showed more promise than any other goaltending prospect we've had since Ryan Miller. He posted a 5-2 record, .905 save percentage, 2.94 goals allowed. Still very unproven though. Those stats look great. Especially coming right out of college, it looked like Devon Levi was really, just a veteran goalie out there at times. And he's got that little meditation thing that the fans really, really loved, really adapted to. And he really, really has what it takes to be a star in this league. With that being said, though, he's so unproven. It's, you can't go into next season expecting playoffs and putting Devon Levi as your for sure starter and then having UPL or Comrie as the backup. It just cannot happen, because so easily could Devon Levi have a regression year next season, or, to be honest, we don't even know what kind of goalie he is. Again, 5-2 record. That's not a lot of experience. And, going into your second year, he could have a sophomore slump. Anything's possible. He could also go into next season being an absolute star goalie, play 75%, 80% of the games, and lead us into the playoffs as a 2 seed in the Atlantic. Anything's possible. But, rounding this out, I think this is exactly why Connor Hellebuyck would be a perfect move. 1-year rental. It would give you just enough time, give UPL a shot in Rochester. If he becomes, a star down there, this would give him time to adapt and, come up to the NHL. This would also give you a year where you don't have to depend on Devon Levi if you don't have to. Of course, if he's playing lights out, put him in. He is the future. Hellebuyck wouldn't be. Hellebuyck would just be a 1-year thing. But, I think it's completely worth doing, especially for one more year. And with that being said, I think, just the fact that the Sabres are talking about goalies and that they've reached out to some players or teams about goalies proves that they are not high on Comrie or UPL whatsoever. And that also is a good thing, because the Sabres, they've been horrible for the last 10, 11, 12 years. I don't care how long it's been. It's been too long since the Sabres have put a competent roster out there. And, it's been too long since they've expected playoffs. This season's going to be the first time in a long time as a fan that I expect playoffs, and I think a lot of people are going to as well. So the fact that the Sabres are even in the goalie market is a great thing. It shows that they're not, just going to stick with what they got. It shows that they're willing to change, and it also shows that they are willing to do what it takes to win for the first time in so long. It's going to be a great season. Again, it's still in the snooze fest of the offseason. We haven't even got to the draft yet. We haven't even got to, after the draft festivities with, camp and, the prospects challenge and all that. And then, of course, it's going to be a battle on this roster. For the first time in a while, we're going to have young kids like Savoy, Yuri Kulik, a lot of other guys that are going to have to fight for spots on this team, because the roster is kind of stacked forward-wise. Again, defense, we need some work, and we've talked about goaltending enough in this video. But I think that is where I'm going to end it now. So in the comment section, please let me know. What do you think of Connor Hellebuyck? Are there any other goalies on the market or in free agency that you think the Sabres should go after? Or are you content with UPL? Maybe you have, a faith in UPL. Maybe you have faith in Comrie. Maybe you think Craig Anderson's coming back from retirement for one more season. Let me know in the comments. Other than that, please like the video, subscribe. It helps a lot. Helps more than you guys would even know. Also follow us on Instagram, Buffalo SportsCenter. That's where you'll get up-to-date news, post stories right on the dot. And also be sure to join the Discord, link in the bio. Thank you guys for watching so much. I've been Cal from Buffalo SportsCenter. Peace out.